Well, time to disassemble this motor some more. Guy who's going to buy the gears decided not to because these are the older gears with the fewer teeth, and he would have to replace all the gears, including the ones on the blower and the governor, in order to make these gears work in his machine. So instead he just found the couple gears that he needed on his machine and replaced them. And so I decided, well, I think I'll throw these gears up on eBay and see if I can get anything for them. And then of course I gotta get this housing off to do that, get the gears out. So I'm gonna start by seeing how many of these bolts I can find to remove and see if we can't get that housing to fall off. Well, I've got to take the starter off to get this housing off, and I can't get the socket in there, so I'm using a wrench. And then the other problem is I got to take the flywheel off because I've got all the bolts out that I can see, but there must be some behind the flywheel that I can't see. Oh, that's funny. The other starter bolt here is actually a completely different size. It's much larger. That starter bolt out here, you can see it. Look at how big it is, but the head is small and it's got that multi-point shape to it. Whereas this one looks like, is that a 1-inch? No, must be 15/16. Yeah, 15/16. That's one heavy starter. I just had this starter rebuilt right before I stopped using the machine, so it's actually in pretty good shape. It's funny, I had it rebuilt, and then immediately after some rains I had a problem with it, so I took it back to the rebuilding shop, and the guy fixed the contacts or cleaned them or something inside the solenoid here, and he told me, he said, yeah, he says a lot of guys put like a rubber flap or something over this. So I had a piece of plastic bubble wrap actually over this to keep the water from getting in there, and that seemed to work well. So that's too bad it's so heavy. The shipping costs make it kind of prohibitive for anybody to really be able to use it. I'm also debating whether or not, I wonder if that would fit the Oliver. Obviously, if it fits the Oliver, I want to keep it as a spare, you know, so I don't know. No, that looks completely different. That mounting looks a little different. The bolt holes are definitely smaller. So I guess I'm just going to sell that starter. Oh yeah, it's a different deal. Look how big these are. So, alright. So, this my electric impact wrench is going to be the best way to get these off. Bet you that flywheel's heavy. Oh yeah, that's a heavy flywheel. And there's the rear main seal that I put in not that long ago. Still looks as new as the day I put it in. And no signs of oil leakage. So, looks like that seal's been holding up well. So that garbage right there must be from the transmission. Well, there's the bolts. You see these 6 right here, and then there's 6 of these up here. I wonder if those are... I can't tell if those are actually holding this housing on or not. I think I'll take these 6 out first and see what happens. Well, the housing's still not coming off. Before I go after these 6 unusual looking bolts here, I'm going to take out, I just noticed there's one right here that was hidden when this gear was rotating the position it was in. So I'll take that one out. There's that one, which actually also holds the camshaft in. It contains the camshaft, but I think it might go right through. But it's going to come out anyways eventually, so I might as well take it out. Guess I should rotate this. Oh, it's going to be harder for me to rotate it now that I took the flywheel off. I'll just throw a couple of bolts here and into the crankshaft so I can rotate this and see if I can find any other bolts that I can't see. Something stuck How much you want to bet that bolt that dropped fell and got stuck into something? Alright, so there's one there I can get to, and there's the other one that holds the cam in. And there's that one there I can't get to, which makes me think that's not made to be removed until after you've got the housing and the cam gear off. So maybe I'm completely barking up the wrong tree as to which one of these I'm supposed to take out. You know what, how about we come over to this side and we take this little plate off to expose the holes in this cam gear and see what's behind those. Well, the only ones that I can see behind these holes are similar to the ones over here I already took out, and then of course the two retaining ones for the balance shaft, and then of course this one here that I can't get to again because it's partially obscured by the cam gear, or in this case the balance shaft gear. So that makes me think again that that's not what's holding this on. That looks like it's holding the backing plate on and not the housing. So that leads me to believe it's got to be these 6 right here. So they're different size than all the others. So we're going to grab the right size socket for these and see if we can't get these out. Oh, that's funny. I tried the bottom one, they were different size, they were smaller, long, and then I went, and the other 4 are the same size as the rest of the ones in here, so go figure. Well, I got all 6 of those out. Housing still seems to be stuck. Then I came over here and I noticed there's 2 right here that go through the backing plate into the housing that were hidden below the starter. So I gotta get those out. Let's see if there's something hidden on the other side here that I missed. No, actually I don't see anything over here. So let's see. Take those other ones out. Let's see. Now I'm thinking I need to take this cover off maybe and see if there's one behind here. And maybe I gotta take the oil filler off too. Oh, that was a waste. Those were too short, little cap screws. Looks like all they do is give you access to the end of the starter there when the starter's mounted. So with the starter out, I should have been able to just look in this hole right here, duh, and see that those weren't the answer. And I got a feeling I can do the same thing on this oil filler assembly and see that, yeah, that oil filler is just bolted to the housing that I'm trying to remove, and there aren't any screws that go through into somewhere else. So now I'm thinking it might just be unbolted but just stuck on there from being on there forever. So let me go get a lead shot mallet and bang on the corner. Oh, that's what it was. It's just the oil seal. Really is the only thing holding it on now, so I should be able to slide this, wiggle it and slide it back, and it should fall right off. Whew. That was heavy. So there's the back of the housing. There's the bolt that fell down that I lost. Here's a some sort of a bushing or wear ring. That must have come off by the looks of it, by the diameter of it. It looks like it came off the end of the idler gear here. So that's your crank gear, idler gear, cam gear, balance gear. And the cam gear and the balance gear, I think, are actually identical. The only thing that makes a cam gear versus a balance gear is what position it's in. So these have all the good teeth on them, and so we're going to take them off, clean them up, get the part numbers off of them, and list them on Fleabay. Well, this gear just slides right off, the idler gear. This gear looks like what holds it on is when the flywheel's in position, that holds it on, and then it's got a keyway, so it's keyed to the crankshaft, but it's not sliding right off, so it must be maybe like a light press fit. Not sure, so I'll deal with that later. But I want to take these gears off the balance shaft and the camshaft while they're in the motor, because the motor's going to do a good job of holding them for me. So what I need to do is I need to loosen this nut this one, I think I might have a socket. I could put the impact driver on and use the impact driver. That'll make that one easy. This one's a little trickier because it's got this little protrusion that comes out here which engages the tack drive. I'm not quite sure how that's attached to that. It's not a slip fit because it's not coming out. So I think what I'll do is I'll just grab a small pipe wrench and put it on there, and then I'll have to try to figure out a way to keep the gears from moving. Alright, put the handle on my breaker bar in through the hole, then gauge a hole in the block, and that'll hold it, and throw my pipe wrench on here, and hopefully this isn't reverse thread. Oh my god, I don't want to knock this whole engine block right off the blocks, wooden blocks I've got it on, so I'm going to put the camera down and study it. Well, I didn't have any luck getting this nut off, so I decided to use the impact wrench on this one, and this one came off pretty easily. So I think I'm on the right track. So if I could get the impact socket on, if I could get the socket on here, I could use the impact wrench, but this little extension right here for the tack drive is in the way, so I'm going to see if I can remove that. Well, a little gentle prying got this little cup thing off, which is just like the oil slinger. So now the question is, how is that attached? Maybe that just screws in there. Well, I tried to unscrew this little extension and it snapped. So I was able to get the socket on since it snapped, and I took that off. So at least I got my goal, which was to get these gears unscrewed. So now I should be able to, they're probably just a press fit onto the shaft. Alright, so now if I want to get these shafts out completely, I've got to take the pulleys off the front here. So I should be able to use the impact driver on these. Well, the impact driver took care of the nuts on these pulleys, but now I'm using this puller to hopefully get the pulleys off of the shaft because they're on there pretty tight. Yep, that's working. There we go. There's one. Now it looks like, is there a bearing in there? Yeah, it looks like maybe there's a bearing in there. Should be able to press that out, pop it out. There it goes. Alright, so here's the balance shaft. And this cup thing here gets kind of crushed when you push it through the way I did, so I guess you're not supposed to do that. Oh well. Shaft is still good. Although, I don't know how often you need a balance shaft. It's probably not one of those things that needs to be replaced very often. Now, yeah, with it off, you see now I can see the backside of it. You can see that part number right on the wheel. 51338 7. Identify which one it is, because there's a left-hand helix, right-hand helix, blah blah blah. So now I'll pull this pulley off. Alright, same drill with this one. Get the pulley off, bang it with the dead blow mallet so I don't harm the threads, and it gets this to slide out enough so that then I can kind of grab it, pull it through. I need two hands. Alright, I just used my puller to pull that crank gear off, and now I think I'm going to remove all of these bolts here and take this backing plate off. Well, just stripped a few more things off this engine here. I got the backing plate off, and there's all this sledge and stuff in there. And I took off a couple of, let's see, had a drip tube here, which was the airbox drain. Had a little oil feeder line that went up to the governor, took that off. Took the fuel filter off. This is the primary fuel filter. The back of this fuel filter, the bracket, actually also covers a hole that is open in the block. That's that opens to the water jacket. So I guess maybe in other applications, maybe they have a reason for using this and wanting to be able to get coolant through here. But in this particular application, it has no purpose to have it open. The bracket basically has a gasket that covers it. I recall running into this problem when at one point I needed to take the filter off. I couldn't get these nuts off because as soon as I loosened them they kept turning, and I found out after I took the bracket off it's because you get these big flat screws in the back, so you can't really do anything with these two screws and nuts until you have the whole thing off. So the proper way to remove it is to actually take these two bolts out. When you take these two bolts out, coolant starts flowing out of here, so you've got to drain your coolant system at least partially in order to take that off without making a mess. Anyways, now that I have it off, you can see that what's in here is almost like sand. It's like, wow. So that was in my cooling system. And I guess because this is kind of a dead end, I guess, for the coolant, it must collect here. But that's not, that wouldn't be conducive to good cooling.